All right, y'all. We live. We're back. It's Rel Purnell and Jay Hall Agent. Welcome back to another episode of Network is My Net Worth, man. Look, we're gonna dive right back into it. Last
Y'all
time we
miss
left
this?
off,
Did y'all miss us?
of course they do. Of course they miss us. Of course they miss us. So last time we did live, December 2021, the market was super crazy high. People putting in overbids. Matter of fact, let you tell us.
Okay.
2021 December, where we last left off. Give that small recap of where the market was as far as real estate. Because let's kick it off with a real estate combo.
So December 2021, it was chaos. Everybody running around with their hair on fire. You fighting 20 people for a property. You got to bring it, and not even just financially in offers written to buy houses, but with all the terms. So you got to have the money right. You got to have the terms right, like the whole 9 yards. And we were 100% in a seller's market, meaning that there was absolutely no leverage from the perspective of the buyer. Um, Transitioning or fast forward, we're a couple of months out from December 2022, but we close enough to do a year over year. Um, and I'd say that we're in a midpoint right now.
Okay. Okay.
So when I say midpoint, we are not completely back to a buyer's market yet. Okay. There are certain properties, depending upon the amenities, the size, etc., that are highly in demand. So a seller may still get more than the list price for that particular home, but it's not as often as it was in 1221. We're closer to a market where you could probably get a property for list price at this point, or maybe even under list price, depending upon if that property is not in demand as much. Um, Interest rates are different. So, to give you an example, in December 2021, I sold a property. It had the highest interest rate I sold last year, which was 3.75%.
Wow. In 12, not even it's
10 months. So in 10 months,
wow.
we just touched
Wow.
seven, which is
Basically
closer to
double.
where we were. Yeah, it pretty much doubled. Yeah, I mean it pretty much nearly doubled, which is taking us back to closer to where we were before the pandemic. And as a result of that, it's some pros and cons. You know, one of the pros is it's helping prices come back. That's why we're
Yeah.
having the conversation of being able to get places at list price or in the right situation, maybe even under list, right? So we're getting back to that. In the way that it's hurting the market from a buyer perspective, is buying power. So with rates nearly doubling, you don't have as much buying power as before. So what people
Yeah.
got to
Break
listen,
that down. Break that down for him.
what people got to understand from a real estate perspective is, so when rates go up, right, then that means your predicted payment is going to go up, which then means your debt to income, which is the amount of debt you have versus how much money you make, is going to go up as well, right? So you're not going to have access to as much money. If we use last year, if the rate goes down by half, right, that means your predicted payment goes down by half, which means that your debt to income ratio goes down as well. So meaning you got more money to spend, right? So it very rarely, like, and I think last year was really the perfect recipe of low rate, crazy buying power, right? So you're able to kind of sort of double dip. Now, like I said, we're getting closer to where we were pre-COVID. So, you know, you can still buy a home, and it it effectively makes sense. But I'm gonna pass it back to you. But before we transition, I want to talk about what's going on with rates and my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Because I'm sure people are asking you like, hey, is even though the rates are high, should I stick on the sideline or should I just jump in before the rates get even higher?
Yeah, the biggest question that I get, and I have some separate content coming out in reference to it, but let's talk about it here. Is people are shocked, right? Because the last 2 years have spoiled people from an interest rate perspective. And we're going back to effectively what rates were normally, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I've explained to folks and why buying a home is still very key is that the national media, for the most part, is only going to focus on the home ownership side. No one's watching the rental market, right? The rental market
Point.
is
Good point.
changing drastically. Okay. So, for example, I can remember one of my family members buying a house back in 95. That was still the kind of era where financially buying a home is always going to give you more long term benefits, but renting was still relatively affordable,
Yeah,
right? So if you
yeah,
wanted to rent for a period and then work your way into home ownership, financially, it would kind of sort of make sense, right?
yeah. Renting was
Now
lower
we're
than a mortgage, a typical
ex-
mortgage.
exactly correct, right? So it made sense. Now what's happening is because of everything that's happened in the pandemic, landlords, property managers, apartment companies are changing their strategy. And now the rental market has spiked to unforeseen amounts. I had a conversation with someone who they're going to renew their lease now because it kind of hit them last minute. But so normal lease renewal comes. They're like, okay, cool. You know, I guess I'll renew my lease. What they notice is that number one, first off, the lease is shortened from a year to 6 months. All right, so let's leave that there. So now
Okay,
let's say
6 month lease, so it's shorter.
they want 6 month leases. Then there's an increase of $300. Right, so that means if your rent was $1,400, now it's going to be $1,700. Right, so to the uneducated eye, you might think, why do those two things connect? Those two things connect because in 6 months they want the ability to come back and say, "Hey, we might still be giving you a deal with that $300 increase.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me throw another 100 or 2 on top of that because the guys down the street is getting more than that."
yeah, yeah,
Right. So what that's doing to families that are renting is that it's completely changing their financial outlook. You got folks that are going to have to move. You got folks that are going to have to put their kids in different schools because they need a payment that they can rely on. Hence, transitioning into the connection with real estate. So, with purchasing a home, the biggest thing, number one, before we get into wealth development or anything, is that for the next 30 years, it gives you a roof over your head at a fixed price, right? So, regardless of whatever market conditions come, you're going to pay that price.
hmm
But it gives you the thing you don't have in renting, which is control, right? So, just like last year, when the market boomed, people who were minding their business and they got their payment and they're fine, rates go low. So, what do? They go right up to their local bank, they refinance, they take advantage of the cheaper rate, right? Because they can control. So, they've decided that within that 30-year period, oh, I got a chance to save some money. I can do that because I run things. As a renter, you can't do that, right? So,
No.
let's say you bought a house now at a payment that was affordable to you, and in a year or two or next year, rates went up again. That doesn't matter to you because you have your payment and your rate. Let's say we're having this conversation at the end of next year, rates are starting to come down again. And you decide, oh, well, let me refinance because I want to get a better
Yeah.
rate than what I have. The bigger key, separate from wealth development or any of that, is you want to become a home owner because of control. You want to be able to control the narrative of your residence, where you raise your kids, what the cost is, and how you can manage it, as opposed to you can't do a thing as a renter, but pay your rent on time and be at the mercy of said property manager or landlord.
Man, that's a great way to put it. I don't think I ever heard anybody break it down like that as far as the control, um, as well as far as the interest rates. Like, okay, if interest rates go up, cool, you already locked in at a lower interest rate because it's you're doing a thing and getting locked in at a fixed rate. I hope. And if rates get lower, cool, no biggie. You refi at the lower rate, man. So it's almost like a win-win situation. for becoming a home buyer, obviously over renting.
For sure. But I think it's what I've learned is that I appreciate the statistics that are released about real estate and so on and so forth. But everything is all strategy, right? If you correlate it to our backgrounds, when we started working together at MBNA a million years ago, and we learned about the credit card business, like the little bit I knew was that having the lowest rate was best, right? And then I started to meet people who came from better financial backgrounds than mine, and they were like, I don't care about rate. I pay my balance in full every month. So I like the benefits that the cards offer. I take their benefits. I make my payment in full and pay my balance off every month and reap all the benefits, and they make nothing off of me. I don't care what the interest rate is. It only matters if you're carrying a balance. So it's all of this whole credit, wealth development is all perspective from my perspective.
No, big time, big time, big time. Oh, and I'm gonna drop a small gem in here. And it's something that we both talked about a while back. But since you brought up the credit cards and the benefits, something that I've been doing, and we haven't talked about this in a while, but in a couple years ago we did mention it as far as using the credit cards for the benefits. So one of my strategies is while I'm building, building up the savings, building up the stock portfolio, investing in my business and other businesses as well, time and money. What I've been doing was applying for cards with benefits that has either reward points, especially cash back. Like I think right now, most of them are giving like 1.75, borderline 2% for cash back. And I'm just paying all of my monthly expenses, everything on the credit card and just paying it off at the end of the month. To your point, it don't matter about the interest rate, right? But reap the rewards and the benefits as they accumulate. By the end of the year, you might have $1,000 that can come in handy during Christmas time. Or you might want to take a little small trip, a small getaway with you and the missus. Boom, that's paid for by the credit card just by getting that cash back.
So that's listen. I'm gonna give you a blast of the past. Rob Jandorf, wherever he exists on Earth, who managed us at the same time a million years ago.
Yeah,
we were just having a conversation in passing. And he said, "Listen, man, this is what I do. I don't ever want to jeopardize not paying my stuff on time or my paycheck not falling the way I want it to fall. So I have $5,000 in monthly expenses. I pay all of my monthly expenses on my credit card. I think he was like a frequent flyer program kind of guy. So that's what he was into because he wasn't from here. Him and his wife weren't from here, so they wanted points to be able to fly. So he was like, yo, we beginning of the month, we pay every bill on the card. And at the end of the month, once all of our pay has hit our account, we pay the balance in full. So we paid no interest. We continue to reap all of these points. And it's so good for our credit because it looks like we're just spending ridiculous sums of money and paying it right back. When in actuality, we're not buying anything that is good to us. We paying the same regular everyday stuff that we pay.
Yeah.
So I that's a great gem from you.
Man, it takes discipline though, man. It takes discipline to not give in to running up a card with consumer goods as well.
All facts. All facts. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues. The other one I will say is that now with the popularity of your Klarnas, your Afterpays, your Quad Pay or Zip, and all these other places where you don't even need to have really good credit to split up payments on consumer goods, that's made it even more difficult for people to manage situations credit wise because now it's like, what do I need to improve my credit to get the card with the benefits when I could just go ahead and click this button and be like, yo, break this payment up on these shoes I don't need across the month and I'll be able to pay it back.
Yep. Extreme discipline, man. Extreme discipline. That's something that's not easy. If you really want it, You gotta be disciplined to get it, man.
It's facts.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Stock market.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this one in here. How you feel about the stock market? I don't think we ever touched bases on it. But when I was live with my guy just a few ago, people was asking about a couple different things over there. So I thought I might drop it over here. Do you have any thoughts, any opinions, on the stock market? As far
Oh,
as
for
where it
sure.
is, are you investing in the stock market? I mean, I know you don't have to tell your personal
No, no,
portfolio
no, no.
or
We
anything like
can,
that,
we
but
can. This is you. This is us. So I don't have a problem with being full disclosure. So let's put the cards on the table. Without getting into our final segment, I started my year in the market. I am not currently in the market right now. It's not because I don't like investing in stock. It's because with all the changes that have happened in the real estate market, my focus has been, I don't want to say 100% because I'm still watching the market, but my focus has been primarily on my business.
got it.
And what my strategy is with investing, I have to be able to pay attention and watch market trends. So I guess that'll be my first gem that I drop off is we need to eliminate this culture of I'm going to talk to my buddy or my sister or my brother and see what they're investing in. And because I trust them and I like them, let me invest money in it. Nah, you need to have a process, right? So for me, if whenever I go through a period where my regular business is going crazy, I pull out of the market. And yeah, there can be predicted profits that I lose, but I make that up on the back end of my business. Now, generalized stances on the market. I think that I think it's a lot. I think it's just as important as real estate to me. I think you have to be invested in the market. And the same way that people get online and consume content about real estate, and mind you, what I will say is because the real estate news in the last couple of years has been more positive than the stock market, you hear less and less. The daily consumer that's turning on over the past 2 years is hearing more about, oh my God, this is the time you need to buy a house, so on and so forth, as opposed to everyone is pushing off the thoughts on whether it be traditional stocks, crypto, whatever, because there's been some market volatility, right? Um, my general thought about it, and I'll defer to you to hear your side as well. My general thought is um, when the market is low, buy, right? But buy the right thing. For me, I've developed a criteria probably over the last 10 years that works specifically for me, right? One of my family members, salute to my cousin, he'll notice when he sees this, but he's done unbelievably well in the market via the pandemic because he wanted to focus on real estate, wasn't really ready to make that move. So he pivoted to the market. And when everyone is scared to buy and, Dow Jones ain't looking the best, he buys. And he's been able to buy some things that were lucrative to him that makes the most sense. So my overarching theme would be just as a father, a husband, a leader of a family, you got to have something in both spots. And when I say something, I'm not counting. It's great that you have your 401k. It's great that you have your pension if you have a role where you have a pension. But separate from that, you need to also be in the market just in general, not with a lot of money, with whatever you can afford, because you got to diversify how you grow your wealth from a family perspective.
I agree. I agree. My little small gems on it. I'm not a stock guru. Um, I got to a point, I would say maybe 6 years in investing, and again, I'm not a guru. I don't know everything. I know a little bit. My strategy was to grow a business, get to a point in my business where I'm able to diversify and invest in other things. So this is 8 years in the business for me. Around probably year three-ish or so, I started to put a little bit of money in the stock market, but not a lot. But now I'm able to put a set side amount into the stock market or into the stock portfolio, the cash buildup, because I do realize that you gotta really have a diverse portfolio. Got to, because when things turn in business, as we both seen, where one thing can be down, something else can be up. But also, myself, I look at the stock market as a long-term play, something that I can maybe cash out 30 to 35 years. So with that being said, my strategy went from investing into not just good companies or companies that I like, but in investing into ETFs. So, looking up Vanguard, and, they always, at least as of now, invest into multiple companies, multiple organizations that's at the top of their industry. And I'm sure that's always going to change over the decades as some companies fall from number one to number 1,000. Then they shift in their portfolio where they're not investing, the 5% of their total amount into that particular company. Now they investing into the next big thing, and so forth and so forth. So that's been my safe haven, and really just putting some extra money aside that can be money that I might blow on, like sneakers or a pair of jeans or a steak dinner or something like that. Cool, I got this little couple $100 or whatever case it might be, set it aside where if I lose it, I don't care about it. But it's in a place where I strongly believe that it can grow over the course of time. Me, myself, that's my that's my little small gems and knowledge and bomb drop about stocks. But I do feel like it's necessary, and it's something that you can get into at a low dollar amount, rather than most like big businesses, like starting a rental portfolio of housing. Obviously, that's going to take some money. That's going to take a lot of time. But something stock market, you can get in with pennies, couple dollars, couple hundred, and it just build up over time.
For sure. One 30-second tidbit before we move into our final segment. So one other thing as well, for those of you that have 401ks, and you're getting the statements in the mail, don't just look at the balance. Don't just throw them in the trash. Pay attention to them. Most employers are going to put your money into a dated fund. So when I say a dated fund, the fund is dated based off of the year that you're predicted to be, I think, 62 and retire, right? So it could be a 2050 fund, 2040 fund, whatever. I said it to say, pay attention to what stocks that fund is invested to. This was something that I learned probably later in my career before starting my business. And what I realized is that I started to grow 401ks I had a lot better when I would take a portion of my 401k and become more risky with it. So I might say, all right, 75% is in the dated fund, right? Because I'm not ready to retire at the moment. I can inherit some risk with this 25%. So let me reallocate 25% of it into emerging stocks or other things. Now, I'm not telling you to do exactly what I did, but take a look at it and see if there is a portion of money that you can be a little bit flexible with. Because even if you decide that me getting on and being a regular day trader kind of guy ain't my thing, at least you want to be paying attention and manage your 401k to the best of your ability.
Boom, boom. Good one. All right, let's switch gears again. Fourth quarter push, man. It's the fourth quarter. Let's both give some, I guess, just a little feedback of where you are in the fourth quarter push. I'll give my feedback on where I'm at in the fourth quarter push. Pretty much, my business is in the luxury transportation or just the transportation side. My biggest thing is to continue to invest in advertising, even though the industry isn't fully back to where it was, pre 2020. I still got to invest in the advertising. I still have to, because no advertising means you're non-existent pretty much. So showing up on those websites, sponsored ads or whatever the case might be, still dropping links and posting on social media. to still get those inquiries that leads to clients, to still put smiles on people's faces, because that's why we started the brand and the organization. For weddings right now, that's been the main push. Um, Proms, that got eliminated at least for the last 3 years, bro. We could talk about that, but yeah. So we transitioned pretty much to weddings, birthdays, anniversaries. But we trying to still put that advertising dollar out there, still make sure that that we're able to be seen from those potential clients. To just continue to keep growing our business. So that's where I'm at with that. And, obviously, as I mentioned, for stocks, still putting a couple hundred, or, whatever I can into the monthly stock portfolio. It's small for now, but it's a lot more than what it was years ago. Years ago. I did a personal net worth statement a couple of days ago. And even though, I see where I'm going in the future, I had to take a step back. Like, man, this is where I'm sitting at right now. This is where I'm sitting at right now, man. 2014, 2013, 2015 was not looking anywhere like this. So that actually, kept me in the positive. Like, all right, come on, you're on the right path, you're in the right direction. You just got to continue to keep it up, and just continue to build, continue to keep the faith, continue to stay positive, and it's just going to continue to grow, and always continue to pivot, when things come, because that's life. Going to have its ebbs and flows. So just deal with it and manage it accordingly. But that's where we at with it right now, man. Just pushing through everything. Obviously, we're doing this live right now, so we trying to get back in the flow of doing this, amongst other things that we got on our plate, which I know is a lot.
That's a fact. So to give you my abbreviated version of things. So for me, the fourth quarter push was last quarter. Right now, I'm in the first quarter of 2023. The way I run my business is if I'm working to try to produce in the quarter that I'm in, I'm already behind.
Okay.
So any business or anything I do to finish out the year strong is an extra added benefit. But my push now is to make sure that there is no stopping and or delay at the top of next year. Because the other thing is, as a business owner, and to provide context for those who've never seen this before, we're both full-time entrepreneurs. As a full-time entrepreneur, you're going to go through that period where at some point you may not want to. You're going to take some time for Thanksgiving. You're going to take some time for Christmas. You're going to maybe see your family for New Year's, right? And you may not, but this is the time of the year that if you're an entrepreneur, that most entrepreneurs, if you're not taking time, which I do not take time during the course of the year, you're going to do it during this period. So I feel like the way that I run things is, let me focus on that. If I take a little bit of time over the holidays, that's fine. Let me keep hustling that way. I'm definitely moving myself back into the market because I feel like I've got a better hold of where the market is going now, real estate wise, from our main business. So now I can shift back into the stock market and give some of my attention towards that. Plus, I want to take some time to start to educate and teach my wife, because it's not enough that just because I'm the leader of my household that I know what's going on. She's savvy, she's smart, she earns income as well, and I want to teach her, because the more that the things I learn from her, the more that I can teach her, the more dynamic we will be as a unit. Because now she'll be able to add certain value, and she may see things from her particular perspective and be like, hey, I don't like this particular stock. I do like it. And we can have some of those internal dialogues as well. So I think that's my focus. My final focus is that I kind of alluded to a little bit. It's just really a little bit of downtime. I have not had any downtime. You know me, you know how I've been in this COVID thing. I have not been on a plane since December of 2019. I have not seen any sun, any sand, any of that. So at some point, I'm gonna take some time over the holidays and be a father, and be a husband, because getting money and running my business, while it is extremely high on my list, God and my family will always be over top of that.
Big time. Big time, big time. All right. As we close it out, let's talk about where we both been and what we both been doing. Since we last went live back in December. So
Cool.
I'll
So for
you want to kick
you
it
go
off?
you go first.
All right, cool. So let's start with let's get right into it. So, top of 2022, really ending off 2021 with business, obviously. That's just like you and I, that's high up on the list, because we gotta do what we can to provide for our families as well as provide for our future with where we're trying to go. So a lot of transitions came in, where we sold some assets, cleared up some capital, which actually indirectly put us in a great space, put us in a space that we were trying to get into really since we started the organization. So again, looking at the financial portfolio, that light bulb goes off like, man, look, what you asked for 6 years ago, you're actually here doing it right now, and you're
Right.
doing it well. So kudos on that. Things were unexpected, but things life goes on. Life goes on. The business is still around. We're still moving. People in newer cars. As far as, let's see, April, I'm gonna give you the update for April, man. Got sick. And once I got sick, I caught it bad, bro. Bad, bad. Like, I thought it was going to brush over. Um, it didn't. I tried to even shake it off because I remember I had a client that I had to, send some documents to make sure that everything was going to go right, with their wedding. And I believe that was the second day of me being sick, trying to shake it off. The next day, it put me right back in the bed. Like, I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. And from there, once it passed over, bro, it lingered around for at least about another month. And my drive, my motivation, as positive and as tough as I seem, man, it just wasn't there. I ain't really had the energy to do anything extra outside of family and business. I didn't have the energy to do it physically, not mentally, but physically. I normally have a exercise routine that I do every morning. Because I noticed that my physical appearance, I started to gain a little belly in 2021 when things start to shut down because you having fun eating steaks, eating burgers, man. So I wanted to change that around. Man, in May, June, I couldn't even get back into the routine of exercising because it was so tough because I took so much time off trying to get back into the routine, man. Um, Eventually, probably around my birthday, started to get motivated, to get that routine back in. We took a couple trips with the family over the summer, which was amazing. Birthdays in Mexico with the little one and the missus. That was beautiful. The getaway was beautiful. So here we are now, October. Summertime ends. Daughter's in fifth grade now, so she's going through that transition stage, of even freedom from her parents, freedom from her parents, wanting to feel like she want to do her own thing, um, but also getting our guidance when needed. Middle school, you got middle school coming up, and she might want to follow her friends to middle school.
Yep.
She kind of figuring out, what not just what middle school she want to go to, but what does she want to be when she grows up? People starting to ask that question in school too a lot, between teachers and staff. So you got that going on. Physical changes start to happen, around fifth grade, 10 years old.
Yep.
So that's where I'm dealing at right now with family. Aside of business, we switching to family. So that's where I'm at right now. So just dealing with that on a day-to-day basis, and trying to manage through it and work through it the best we can, man.
That's a fact. For me, um, very similar in a different way. Like I came into the year strong, had my year planned out. No one, with the exception of God, can predict what's going to happen in the real estate market. So, once there were so many market changes, an entire perfectly crafted plan that I had for first quarter of 2020. Well, first quarter started off good because I started working towards it earlier, but the second quarter kind of plan I had mapped out was done, because the market just changed in a snap. So I had to kind of sort of pivot and become frazzled and deal with that, all while dealing with my daughter trying to close out her middle school journey, after 2 years of being in virtual school, which has its pros and its cons. But she did well in adjusting with that, but then also preparing for the fact of high school's next. And in that situation, it's a little bit more detailed than the journey you have going from elementary to middle, because then you got to decide, especially if you're at a particular level academically, what program am I going to go into? You got to test into these programs. So you're dealing with the regular stress of the end of middle school. You're dealing with the testing stress because you want to get into the particular high school and the program you want, because that's going to predict what you do for college. And it was really all what my daughter wanted. So it's really me trying to help her manage her stress and her anxiety because it's what she wants to do, while all of that is going on. Because of you and people who watch this video, including my clients who know me, know how meticulous I am about COVID. So my family and I were able to avoid it until like July-ish of this year. And we had our first hit of it. And to this day, I kind of have an idea where I think it happened, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And it was a rough one. And, through the grace of God, I felt like I kind of sort of thugged it out. And I think my first day of it was the worst I've ever felt in my life. And then
Yo, that thing ain't no joke, bro.
it ain't. Listen. People play with it, but it's not to be played with.
Yeah, I played, and trust me, I played with. I was like, man, it can't be as bad as people saying. It can't be as bad as people saying, man. People gotta man up, man. They gotta man up.
It'll put you down for real. And to your point, I think after about 10 days, I might have been a little sluggish, but I was kind of back to me. But for my wife, I think it took me 2 months before my wife was herself. So
yeah, it took
once
me
I
about
was
that.
fully back to being me, now I gotta keep an eye on her because that's my partner. So I gotta make sure that she's okay. I'm not liking what I'm seeing, through the grace of God now. She is back to full health and we're good. But dealing with that all while dealing with a crazy real estate market. My daughter freshly graduates out of high school. Then before you know it, it's like we come out of the COVID battle. Now it's time to start high school. So you got back to school shopping. I've completely moved around my schedule because now I got to be on the other side of town multiple times a day, many times, while still running a business. And fast forward to now, I would say just in a good space, through everything that this year has brought for myself and my family, it didn't break us. So, we're now moving in a spirit of positivity, and something that we've talked about off the record that I'll share here. For my wife and I, our biggest goal has been trying to eliminate debt, trying to have the best debt perspective, because now that I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary in the real estate business and as a full-time entrepreneur, the next step that's on the plate for me also for 23 years, becoming focusing on my other business, which is consulting, and really getting that where it needs to be. Because like we talked about, this whole show was developed off of pivoting. And those who's followed my journey knew that when I started, I was supposed to be doing both. But like, when you're in the trenches and you jump outside, you find out very fast that in certain industries, until you know what you're doing, you can't do two at the same time.
Yeah, and it might take a couple of years.
It may take some years. So, like you said, man, just positive. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna still be cautious, but I'm looking forward in 23 to get back to traveling again and doing some things. And if I'm not mistaken, July next year, somebody I know might be touching that 4. So I need to be ready to jump on a plane wherever that fiasco is gonna be to celebrate that milestone. So um that's where I am. So fast forward to today, we're both in a positive space. And just 30 seconds about the break that we took. For those who were very hot and heavy, thank you for sticking with us and giving us a chance to kind
Big
of sort
time.
of bring it
Big
back.
time.
Our situation is different. We don't have a big meat machine behind us or any of that. We've built this thing from nothing. So we had to kind of pivot and focus on our individual businesses as they evolved. But we want to get back to more consistently having our show, giving you guys content, because this show was built on, we're going to show you how to build this for real. Like, we're going to take you behind the scenes. And when you see where this takes us, you'll always remember, I watched them guys from, to me, the way I call it, because I'm a sports guy, when I see a guy playing a sport in college and then he's worth 100 million and he's killing it professionally, there's a level of positivity of watching that journey. And I can respect what they do at the professional level. Well, you guys are gonna get that insight from us as well.
Yeah, man, and I love that because we're both in the same space, man. Footnotes. We talked about this probably over the last past close to 10 years that we should be documenting our journey somehow, some way, so that we can go back in the future and say, hey, look, this didn't just fall out the air. I've been working on this for 10 years, 15, 20 years to get to where I'm at right now. And I'm still preaching the same principles. There's no magic to it, no fluff to
Yep.
it. I've been sticking to my discipline and my guns and my rules and my strategy and just following it through. Because a lot of people see when people get to a certain place, they're like, yo, I wonder how they do it. Did they have an insight? Did they have a plug? Did somebody put them on? And a lot of times, man, they just been working and busting their butt for decades. And, I feel like, we always said that we should be recording ourselves in the background. So, this is one of the ways that we can also record ourselves so that we can have footnotes for when we get older, for when our kids get older, for when our grandkids get older. And they can be like, oh, okay, uncle, father or grandfather or, whoever we may be at that particular time when they take a look at it. This what they was on. This type of time they was on. This how they built that. This how they built this. Because we may not be around to give them the actual blueprint. And also for our society as well, man. We never know who may stumble upon, our messages and gems that may turn their life around as well. So it's good to just put that good karma just out there to the whole world to see.
And my last quick statement for the show, because I know we ran over, but I was able to watch a social media comment from a young lady that I had sold a home to, and she was speaking on a post of one of her family members, her older brother. And she talked about looking up to him and his journey and the things that he had gone through. And, she just became a homeowner. And it's, to me, I think that's the perfect correlation to what it is that we do, because you don't know who's watching. But when people watch you build something, it's very easy to show up with the flashy things and the money and for people to assume. But when people watch what you build and the work that you put in, it gives a different level of motivation, because it's like, oh, now I know it's attainable because I watched it. I watched where it was built, so on and so forth. And that's always been the goal of what we wanted to do with this, is to show people, like, you see behind the scenes, it ain't no fluff with us.
Yep.
Like we putting our real life situations on here, and those who we love who watch this content will tell you your wife knows how driven you are, knows that you wanted to get up off the couch with COVID and work. My wife knows, and my clients know, I worked through COVID. So I worked every day from my bedroom, locked with the door locked, the entire time I had COVID, and
Wow.
closed deals as well.
Wow.
So the people around us know that there's no fluff, so we have no reason to hide or to bluff, because everything we say is valid and verifiable.
Big time, man. That was a mouthful between us both. We didn't know we were going to run over. We tried to keep it to 30 minutes. But, for those who stick it around just to, hear our, little footnotes and pieces and, extra gems that we throw in there, we certainly appreciate y'all. Any last words before I wrap it up, man?
Now, my guy, let's get it wrapped. Thank you guys for consuming the content, and we coming, and this new iteration or version of the show is going to the next level. So stick with us, and also, man, check out my guy to the left of me here, depending upon where you're looking at the screen. And my other bro, E-Vape, is on Car Talk TV Network. Those guys have built a platform that covers everything from cars to business and everything else, man. Support those guys, because we want to make sure that our community is pouring into their community as well.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Car Talk TV, check it out. It's Rel Purnell. It's J Hart Agent, man. Look, you've been watching Network. It's my net worth. We see you on the next one. And as I always say, stay positive, stay motivated.
Salute.